Our minds are like a computer processor. Human memory involves the ability to both preserve and recover information we have learned or experienced. The study of human memory has been a subject of science and philosophy for thousands of years, and has become one of the major topics of interest within cognitive psychology. There are 3 separate stages of memory: sensory memory, short-term memory, and long-term memory. The approach of making efficient use of short-term memory by grouping information is called chunking. The American Psychological Association, APA, defines chunking as the process by which the brain divides larger pieces of data into smaller units or chunks, so they are easier to retain in short-term memory. How the chunking process works. 1. Break larger amounts of information into smaller units. For example, to remember items from a list, start by forming them into groups. A shopping list might be broken down into smaller groupings based on whether the items on the list are vegetables, fruits, dairy, or grains. 2. Identify similarities or patterns. Look for ways to relate units to each other in meaningful ways. What do the items share in common? You might group items together because they are each spelled with 4 letters, because they start with the same letter, or because they share a similar purpose. You might be more likely to remember that you need eggs, baking soda, and chocolate chips if you are to bake a cake. Simple chunking. The breakdown of random numbers into chunks makes the numbers easier to remember. For example, if you were to remember a phone number, 260-554-3781, you would break the numbers into chunks like this: 260-554-3781, which makes it easier to remember. You might use mnemonics as a way to chunk different units of information. If you're going to the grocery store and need brinjal, eggs, nuts, and tea, you could create a word out of the first letters of each item you need. Bent. Once you remember the key word, you'll be better able to recall the items represented by each letter of the acronym. Chunking in learning. Chunking is useful for more than just recalling visual or auditory information. When we break up large tasks into shorter blocks of time, we are using the chunking method. When learning a new task, for example, driving, we typically separate the instructions into steps and then perform each step separately with a pause between each step. Even if you're not familiar with chunking as a psychological concept, it's probably something that you've put into practice for years. From memorizing phone numbers to breaking down the text into more easily readable bits, we have all used chunking in our day-to-day lives. By practicing chunking methods regularly and incorporating this technique into your study habits, you might find that you're able to remember more. Thanks for watching. Here are some other videos you might like. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Psychside for more interesting psychological tips.